Please make sure you found your seats, silence your cell phones, and settle in for an evening of stories. Washington, D.C., Kennedy Center, make some noise! You can do better than that. I'm talking to you in the back. Make some noise! Welcome, 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 welcome. Without further ado, let me bring up the co-host for the evening. He is the Prince of Prose, the Duke of Drama, the demigod of D.C., the courageous, the gracious, Krilios! Give it up, give it up, give it up!
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Hi, everyone. I'm Krilios, Team Rayceen Productions MC and producer. So happy to be here. But of course, you know, I could never do this as a co-host without the grand hostess of them all. So at this time, without further ado, here's the queen of the shameless plug, the empress of pride, the goddess of DC, the iconic, the legendary Rayceen Pendarvis.
Welcome, everyone, to Story District. I'm so honored to stand before you today. I am a proud native Washingtonian, and I'm 71 years old and suffer. This is what 71 looks like when you're living good, avoiding negative people, and drinking plenty of water.
That part, that part.
Story District is a part of a 12-year tradition celebrating LGBTQ plus pride in the DMV. Tonight, you hear 5 true stories. Story District is about celebrating its 25th year in business, promoting the art of autobiography, storytelling, and the DMV. Through their shows, classes, consulting, and digital content, we create opportunities for people to deepen the sense of meaning, belonging, and the connection to the common humanity.
And as we've said before, we're from Team Rayceen. This is Rayceen Pendarvis, the figurehead, the face, the mother of Team Rayceen. And Team Rayceen Productions creates online and on-site content which aims to entertain, inform, educate, and inspire. Please follow us on social media at Team Rayceen. That's Rayceen. That's at Team Rayceen. I don't see anyone pulling out their phone, so I'm just going to spell it another time. That's Team Rayceen. Rayceen. And if you're interested in collaborating, please send us an email at teamrayceen@gmail.com. And now at this time, Rayceen, we want to get into our first guest. But before we do that, I know that I've story told with Story District before, and I know that you have. Tell me, how was your experience?
It was amazing. As you can see, I'm having hot flashes. When you reach a certain age, you have hot flashes. How many of the audience know what I'm talking about? Please raise your hands. Thank you so much. I am not alone.
And you can check out both our Story District performances on the Story District YouTube channel. Now at this time, are y'all ready for some stories? Put your hands together as we welcome Anthony Oakes. But before he comes, let's give him his intro. He hails from North Carolina. Anthony D. Oakes is a District of Columbia resident who is taking comedy and storytelling to the East Coast by storm. Anthony is a 2021 recipient of Muriel Bowser's prestigious Mayoral Arts Award for Excellence in the Performing Arts. Put your hands together for the one, the only, Anthony Oakes.
I grew up in the church, in the Bible Belt, North Carolina to be exact. North Carolina, we make cigarettes. I love the church, and I love Jesus. It was sad when I finally found out that they weren't one in the two. I loved the church. I did everything. I was in the Easter cantata. I was in the Christmas cantata. I was president of the youth. I directed the choir. I played the piano. And I remember one Sunday, I was ready. I had on my black pants. I had on my crisp white shirt with my black tie. And I was ready to give God praise. But then the preacher started saying things like, we have to pray for our families. There's something destroying our families. Homosexuality is destroying our families. These sissies are destroying our families. These effeminate men, they're destroying our families. And even though I was young, I didn't even know what gay was, but I felt like he was talking about me. It stung. I felt it. And I'm sure he was talking about other people that were also in the choir. Can you only imagine being a young gay child and you're in church and you're giving God your all and the preacher's like, you're going to hell. Like, that's traumatic, right? But the comedian would always rise up and I would say stuff like, what would I wear in hell? Probably something backless, you know what I'm saying? Get a little hell tan back there. But it scarred me. The relationship that I built with Jesus was tumultuous. I finally went off to college. All I knew was school and church. It's all I knew. So it was an awakening. Something forced me to come out of the closet. It was a very traumatic incident, and it forced me to come out. And the only thing I could think of was, what is the church gonna say about me being gay? What is Jesus gonna think about me being gay? And I could not wrap my head around it. I just went into a downward spiral. The battle between that and myself and who I was, it was deafening. I started to abuse drugs. It led me to a life of crime, to where I could fuel my drug addiction. And it ultimately landed me in prison. I had to do 2 years in federal prison for a white-collar crime. Now, I didn't know what to do. I had to self-surrender, but they don't give you a handbook about how to go to prison, you know? So what did I do? I went out and I got 3 tattoos because I thought that's what you had to do to go to prison. I watched Oz, you know? My tattoos were so gay, though. Like, I literally got my mom's name tattooed on the back of my neck. Her name is Angel. I self-surrendered. As soon as I got processed, I walked on the campus. There was another inmate that was being released. They were walking past me. And you know, I had let my hair grow out. I was hard. Got my butch walk on. I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm in prison now. And that man stopped me and he was like, Miss Thing, no. We're not even gonna come in here with that. They will eat you alive with that. He said, you need to be yourself. You need to be as authentic as possible because that's the way they will respect you. And I was like, did Jesus send me a prison angel? And when I got on campus, I fell back into what I knew, church. I went to the prison church. There was a guy there. He played the piano for the church. He had written all the songs. He wrote out the chords to the song and typed them up. He said, hey, I'm getting out. I need you to take over the choir. So I took over the choir. I learned all the chords. I learned all the songs. And I graded the prison choir. We was rocking in the prison. And then the pastor approached me a little while later, and he was like, "Yeah, Anthony, you're doing a great job, but I need to talk to you about something. Someone brought something to my attention. I felt like I just needed to discuss it with you." And I was like, "Okay, cool. What's up?" He said, "Yeah, it's stories going around that you might be gay." And I'm like, "Oh no, I can clear those up. I'm most definitely gay. Yeah, there's no might to it. Yeah, I'm definitely gay." And he was like, "Man, well, unfortunately, we're going to ask you to sit down from playing the piano for the choir because we can't have a gay man playing the piano." And I said, "I'm sorry, do you mean the prison church choir?" Like, I mean, no disrespect, Pastor, but you shot somebody. Like, I'm just in here for a little white collar crime. Like, are you serious? Where was the Jesus in that? It's separate, Jesus and church. They sat me down. I eventually I went back one time just to see how horrible they were, and they were definitely horrible without me. But I eventually got out of prison, still abusing drugs. Something led me here to DC. And one night I was in my room. I had gotten high. I was a cocaine addict, and I was high as a Georgia pine one night. And that's high. That's high. And I just began to cry, and I began to talk to Jesus, not like he was this entity in the sky, but just like he was my friend. "Look, Jesus, I'm tired. I'm tired of abusing drugs. Where's my love? I give out so much love, I don't receive it back. Like, I need someone to love me. What is my purpose? I don't even want to be here anymore. What is my purpose? Why am I here?" Now, faith without works is dead. That conversation gave me the strength to put one foot forward. I removed myself from people, places, and things that had any connection to do with drugs. 2 weeks later, I began to do comedy. It was my purpose in life. 2 weeks after that, I met my then boyfriend, now fiance. We've been together for 6 years. And it dawned on me that Jesus was with me the whole time when the church wasn't. And it made me think back to something that happened when I was younger. You know, when you're going through puberty and, I couldn't, explore my body in my room because I had a black daddy. And there are no closed doors in a black daddy's household. You don't pay no bills in this house. Open that door. So the next place you go is where? The bathroom. I would be in the bathroom seeing what's going on with my young body. And my mom would be on the other side of the door. "Anthony, what are you doing in there? You know Jesus is watching." And I thought back to all the times that Jesus was there, and I was like, hey, maybe Jesus was gay too. Thank you. My name is Anthony Oakes.
Thank you, Maestro. Mann was born and raised in D.C. They organized for racial and economical justice, written fiction, and can play 3 songs on the guitar. Let us receive Mann.
In the fall of 2020, I came out as non-binary. My friends and family all responded really well. One of my friends even said, "Oh, I thought this happened already." The one tricky piece was dating. Even though I'd come out as bi in college, I'd mostly continue dating straight men because it was easy. Like, I knew exactly what to do to attract men and had no idea what I was doing with everyone else. But no longer identifying as a woman meant that dating straight guys was off the table. So, in a way, it was the push that I needed to start living the gay life of my dreams. Let's remember, though, that this was during the pre-vaccine part of the pandemic. So, living the gay life of my dreams mostly meant staring longingly at cute faces on Zoom calls. And there was one cute face I longed for the most. They were also non-binary, from Louisville, Kentucky, had a hip haircut, septum piercing, tattoos. I kept seeing them on these national calls about fundraising for mutual aid efforts during the pandemic. So, you know, they were cute and they cared about shit. What started with me just casually scrolling through the pages of Zoom faces to find them each time led to me eventually pinning their video. For you pure souls who don't know what this means, just imagine you're on a Zoom call and the person leading it, who happens to be giving pretty important information about how to respond to a global crisis, becomes very tiny. And the person you have a crush on, who's just silently eating cereal, becomes very big, taking up the entirety of your screen. And they have no idea that this is happening. It was a big crush, okay? Over the next few months, we start having some one-on-one activism-related calls, and then some non-activism-related calls, and then reveal our mutual crushes on each other. Thank you. And we decide that they'll come visit me in DC in August. Come July, I'm starting to get pretty nervous. Like, flirting on the internet is one thing, but when I meet them in person, what do? I know the rules for how to be a woman who dates men. Be smart, but not that smart. Be silly, but also sexy. Be hairless, even though you are a human. And in my case, also Armenian. And also Armenian. One second. Oh yeah, I just keep wondering, what does it look like to be non-binary and also be desirable? A few weeks before their scheduled visit, my crush texts me to say that they happen to be driving through DC today, and did I want to hang out for a few hours? I have to read the text through a few times because I'm surprised, and also I've just finished schlepping everything that I own into a new apartment, and DC swamp sweat is seeping into my eyes, one of which also has a pretty severe pink eye infection. Filled with the adrenaline of moving day and egged on by my best friend who's there helping me, I say yes. By the time my crush likes the message, I regret everything. I remember that all my cute clothes are still in boxes, and the only seating I have is like a single office chair with a broken wheel. But my best friend goes into planning mode, throws some pillows on the floor, and goes to buy ingredients for mojitos while I shower and dab at my eye discharge. When my crush arrives, I go outside to meet them, and it's like a scene from a queer romantic comedy. The two of us running to each other as piercings and carabiners sparkle in the sun. We end up sitting on the floor of my apartment, eating hummus and exchanging glances while my best friend makes us all drinks. Now, I've never been a drinker, but I'm very nervous and very dehydrated. So I start throwing back these mojitos, and suddenly I'm not nervous at all. And I'm also so funny, like the funniest. And I'm doing these varsity level flirt moves that seem to be getting a pretty good response. When I get up to walk my crush out, however, I realize there's a problem, because the world is spinning in one direction and I am spinning in another. But I'm not gonna mess this up. I actually like, everything is fine, nothing to see here, and casually bid them farewell. I get back inside, collapse on the floor, and my best friend says, "Oh shit, I think they left their water bottle." Now, I know now that this is not an emergency, but in the moment, I feel I must be a hero. So I grab the bottle, throw on my best friend's 2 sizes too small flip-flops, and then I'm outside in the hot sun, calling down the block to my crush, "Wait! And and they turn toward me, and I start running to them in slow motion. And it's like another scene from this same gay rom-com. Only suddenly, the sky is not where it's supposed to be, and the ground is moving steadily closer to my face. What I want you to understand is that this wasn't a simple trip and fall situation. I know that because later, when my best friend tends to my wounds, they have to clean blood off both my left knee and the back of my right shoulder. So I fall. And once I'm down, I stay down. Because you know how shame has that kind of gravitational pull? And as I hear my crush running over to me, I take stock of the situation. I'm publicly drunk in the middle of the afternoon, splayed out on the sidewalk, covered in sweat and blood, infectious tears leaking out of my inflamed eye. And it's funny, but it's also sad. Like, I really like this person, and I have this vicious and familiar hetero voice in my head saying, you can't be this messy and still be desired. Those are the rules. My crush makes it over to me and helps me up, not laughing, just very seriously asking if I'm okay, which, confirms the ferocity of the fall. Barely able to look them in the eyes, I simply say, you forgot your water bottle, and pathetically hold it out. And then they say, no, I didn't. And they gesture to a similar looking bottle hanging from their bag. Just as I decide it's a good thing that I just got my own place because I'll be hiding from humanity for the rest of my days, they look at me with these cute, sparkly eyes and say, if I kiss you, will I get pink eye? I know. For a moment, I just stand there shocked. And then I say something like, I could try to research it really quickly. And they just laugh and say, I'm willing to risk it if you are. And then we are kissing. And let's be real, I'm still in a large amount of physical pain. But I also feel great because I am gross and I am wounded and I'm still wanted. Those are the new rules.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Before our next performer, make sure if you are posting on social media, you're using the hashtag Outspoken2022. Once again, that hashtag is Outspoken2022. If you see something you like, take a pic and share it on social media. And now keep your hands together as I welcome Malik Coleman. Malik Coleman is a performing and teaching artist. He connects people to themselves, their higher power, and their communities through facilitation, storytelling, comedy, space making, and other healing arts. Keep the applause going for Malik Coleman.
Third grade was Patrick Henry Elementary School in Germany. Third grade was Starta Parka's White Sox. And third grade was my first crush, Sarah. I got up the nerve to ask her, can I please walk you home from school? She said yes. Now, if y'all remember, some of y'all might be far away from elementary school, but when school got out, it was like the club let out. Everybody was outside, and everybody saw me walking my crush home. Oh, I was like, this is best. It felt like, at the time, the only reference I had was a Disney movie, so the sun was shining extra bright. I could hear the birds chirping, and I was walking her home. We get to her door, and she says, I can't have company. My mom is not home yet. But I didn't care because everyone saw me, and I walked her home. I did the hard thing. So I said, have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow. I turn on my heel, and I start walking back. And all of a sudden, someone from a high balcony yells out, hey, yo, Ty, do you like Sarah? And that movie changed, and all of a sudden it was like a record skip. Everyone froze and just stared at me. So I said the only thing I knew to say. I mean, I like her, but I don't like her. Everyone laughed. If I was a cartoon character, I'd be all red because I would be so embarrassed. Everyone's laughing at me, and I'm just feeling like I just have to get home. And all of a sudden, these middle school girls, they walk up, they tell everyone to be quiet, and they say, leave him alone. And then they look at me, and they say, plus he's cute too. You know. I could have floated home. It was the best moment. And I replayed it. I replayed it over and over. Plus he's cute too. Plus he's cute too. And I didn't know why it felt so good, right? I knew it felt good to be called cute, but there was something about it. About 2 years later, 10 years old, and that's when you start learning about puberty. So we're in a class, and the teacher says, okay, boys, you're going to go to the classroom next door. Girls, you stay here. So I get up and go to the classroom next door with my boys, and someone taps me on the shoulders like, where are you going? I was like, I'm about to go next door. And they look at me and they say, you're a girl, and then roll their eyes, and I sit down. And so we're sitting in this class, and you know, that it's an awkward class, right? You're learning about your body doing different things. You're learning about fluids going different places. You're watching naked pictures with your friends. It's awkward, but there's something extra about it, something unnamed. And I knew that things were different, right? They were telling me, oh, you'll start having dreams about boys. And I'm like, that's not what's happening. And they're telling me all of these things, and they're not quite matching up. And I don't know what to do with it, but I do know that I can't say anything about it. And so I just keep it to myself. 2 months later, I get home, and my mom says, I have a gift for you. And I'm excited because I've been getting straight A's, and I know that that means that my starter hat is in that bag. I open it up. It's not my starter hat. I pull out a training bra. So I look at the bra, and I look at my mom. And I look at the bra, and I look at my mom. And I said, what am I supposed to do with this? And she says, Ty, you're a girl. You have to wear a training bra. I didn't want to wear one, but apparently you can tell if you're not wearing a bra. She would tell me, no, go put it on. And when I started wearing that, things changed for me. People treated me differently. My friends, the friends I was still boys with, they were different to me. Adults were different. And I kept getting those reminders. You're a girl, you're a girl, you're a girl. And I didn't know why it bothered me, but I knew I had to keep it to myself. And so this secret keeping, it felt like I wanted to get outside of my body. And so I would escape. I would escape into video games, books, all of that. And then when I got to college, I found alcohol. Yo, it was perfect. You could drink and all of the voices were quiet. The voices telling me I was a girl, my voices telling me I wasn't a girl, everything was quiet. It was the best. So anytime the voice got too loud, I could just drink. And then, you know how many drugs are in college? A lot. So when the alcohol wasn't working, I would just add something on. It was perfect. It was perfect. And I did this for years and years and years. And then one day, 5 years ago, I had what we call a bottom. My life had basically turned into a country song. Like, my girlfriend left me. I didn't have a job. I had no money. It was sad. And I remember I was walking around. It was July. It was hot. I was dehydrated. And I was like, I can't keep doing this anymore. So I called my father, and I called him. I said, Dad, I think I need to stop drinking. Like, I think it's just too much. And he says, just go to a meeting. Just go to a meeting and call me back. I go to this meeting, and these people it's a meeting full of white gay men. So I'm like, I'm not about to get an answer here, but everyone is talking about things that sound familiar, so I keep going. I get in recovery, I get sober, and recovery is all about being authentic. You have to live your true self. And so I'm just taking off all these layers that aren't true until I'm faced with like just this one thing. That voice is back, but now I can't silence it. 2 years ago, when the pandemic started, I couldn't get away from myself. Remember, everything was on Zoom? So every day, for 8 hours a day, I'll be staring at myself, staring at myself, staring at myself. And it just became louder. And I had locks, like, down to my waist. And I remember thinking, like, I just have to keep changing. And so I told my therapist, I told her for a month straight, I'm gonna cut my locks, I'm gonna cut my locks. One day she says, don't come into my office without your haircut. And she's a black woman, so I listened to her. And I go to the Royal Razor Barbershop, my man Sherrod, and I sit there, and I still remember hearing the shears, like, cut the hairs, because my hair was thick. And I'm watching in the mirror, I'm watching, like, my hair falling off of me. I'm watching, like, something else take shape. And then I remember when he handed me the mirror, and I looked. It's like a Disney movie, right? Like the sun was shining, everything was nice. And now I had something to say against those voices that were in my head. So anytime I doubted who I was, I would look in the mirror, look at my haircut, and I'd be like, leave him alone. He's cute. Thank you.
I am juicing. Ladies and gentlemen, and many others. Sienna Joslin is a web designer, storyteller living in Washington, D.C. They are currently developing a solo performance entitled Am Temporal for Capitol Fringe. Put your hands together for Sienna Joslin.
Hello. Thank you all for having me. Before I dive into my story, I want to address the fact that I'm dressed like a dad on vacation in 1992. I just had top surgery, so thank you. That is my catchphrase for the day. Anyway, so I got married back in March, and it was a nice ceremony. It was very small. It was our like 4th attempt after COVID. Just kept pushing it back and back, but it was nice. And somebody left a note in our guest book that really stuck out to me. It was something along the lines of, I still can't believe how much queer joy I was surrounded by here today. And that stuck out to me because my wife and I have been fighting forever, not with each other, but with the rest of the world. It feels like the fight for basic civil rights has just kind of become ingrained in our relationship at this point. But before we were, rallying at the Supreme Court and getting tear gassed at a Black Lives Matter protest and all of that stuff, we were campus activists at our undergrad, Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida. And, we were the proud moms to like all of the campus gaybies. We had all of our LGBTQ sophomore and freshmen, and it was a good setup. We were lucky in a way because the non-discrimination policy at the school was very inclusive. It protected against discrimination on the basis of sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity. So awesome, right? Well, one day we were walking, and it was finals week. It was my last finals week, actually. So I was like dead and somehow still walking. But we hear Callie, Sienna, and we turn and we see Dr. Jones, this amazing English professor who's also known as a bit of a activist on campus. So we turn and we see her, and she comes over and she's like, guys, I think we might have a problem. And she starts talking in a really hushed voice, and she's like, there's an evangelical student group hoping to come to campus, and they want to bypass the non-discrimination policy. It went against the tenets of their faith to include LGBTQ+ students. So, we walk away and we're like, how can this happen on our nice little liberal arts campus? And, what's gonna happen to the gaybies? And we just have all of these questions, but before we know it, the following week we're in our first meeting with school administrators. And it's us and it's a couple of other student activists and just a smattering of like the most generic, group of school administrators you can imagine. And I was kind of just like breezing through the meeting because last finals week, but then the vice president of student affairs said something that kind of woke me up out of my daze. She said, a gay student leading an evangelical Christian group would be like a white supremacist leading the Black Student Union. And that's when I knew we were going to have to actually do something. So the next week, my girlfriend, now wife, she comes home to her apartment and she is waving the student newspaper. And there's an op-ed in there. And the writer was asserting that no, Crew, the evangelical student group, did have a right to discriminate, and they should be able to do that. So we spring into action. It is like a cartoon. Our apartment just immediately, like all the cogs start turning with each other, and we put together this op-ed in response. You know, Callie would be writing, and then I'd edit, and then vice versa. And this was just not any ordinary op-ed. We had tons of historical information. We had just interview after interview with students and alumni who would be impacted by this. And we publish it, but at the same time, we have approximately 300 people send an email to the president saying, I oppose this proposed carve-out to the non-discrimination policy. So this is Callie's senior year. Like, this should have been about law school applications and, I don't know, partying or something. But instead, you know, she's focusing on whether or not her rights as a queer student are going to be revoked. And meanwhile, I was an English major, so I was working at Starbucks. It was simultaneously the most boring and most difficult job I've ever had. But this fight very quickly became my entire life. Like, I was living and breathing this fight. So we had kind of a weird dynamic going on, with Callie having everything going on and me having absolutely nothing going on. It became very tiring very quickly. But the next course of action we decided was it was going to be a protest right outside the office of the president. The president was in charge of making the final decision on the fate of the non-discrimination policy. So he was a philosophy professor in a previous life, right? He was very focused on making sure that he heard both sides very equally, which meant giving a platform to some very hateful ideas. So we decided that our protest was going to focus on the students, faculty, and staff in the middle on the issue. We were inspired by the Desmond Tutu quote, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. So we had signs on our protests that read things like, some discrimination is okay, and gay people deserve some rights. And most people, you know, saw our signs, read our flyer, got our point, but they were like, okay, yeah, I see what you're doing here. But one girl walked by, and she said, you know, she read her signs, got her flyer, read the flyer, digested the information, and it was like, I don't think you're giving them a fair shake here. Like, I don't think, what you are saying is wrong. So the rumors start flooding in. The president has reached a decision, and we are just waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally, he announces a faculty meeting. Well, it was faculty and us, because at that point we were just like all up in everybody's business. But yeah, we go to this faculty meeting. During the meeting, 85% of the faculty voted to reaffirm the non-discrimination policy. But the president still went on with his 15-plus minute speech about what he decided to do. And he's going on, and he's going on, and he's going on. And then finally, he says, the non-discrimination policy will remain unchanged, and any student group hoping to come to campus will have to abide by it. I'll say it concisely because he wouldn't. We won. Most stressful, 10 months of my life. But anyway, in that moment, I was so relieved. My girlfriend was sitting next to me, and I went like that to hug her, and I spilled coffee all over my pants. But in between those waves of searing pain, I realized, if I'm gonna have to fight tooth and nail for every basic civil right, there's no one else I'd rather do it with. 3 months later, I found the ring, and 6 months later, we were engaged. Thank you.
We love the growth. We love the growth. Now, next up, we have Christian Richardson. Now, Christian grew up a military brat who has some major ties to the black church community, all while thriving as a young gay male in black society. The heartache, pain, and life lessons he's endured have been a source of knowledge about human emotions and life. Christian always makes time to write in his journal. You can read a few of his stories in his book entitled Tales of a Black Geisha. Welcome, Christian Richardson.
Hey! Okay. Here we go. Black, gay, military brat, and the black church. Damn. Okay. And some people say you got strikes against you. Not me. I ain't never scared. Junior year, high school, going into choir rehearsal, I was called out by the choir director, at least so she thought. And she said, Christian, I heard something about you. We need to have a conversation. So I'm thinking, you heard rumors about me and you believed it? Now you want to talk? Oh, baby, believe all that shit. You heard it, believe it. I ain't cleaning up nothing, believe it. So after rehearsal, we had this little conversation. She got in my face and she put her nail all in my face and she was talking and she was like, you are not gay. You're not gonna go to hell and da-da-da-da. Me being me, I'm cracking jokes. I'm ignoring this half. I ain't paying no attention because she talking shit and it's just whatever. So on the way home, it bothered me. And I was a little pissed off because I allowed it to bother me, and that's not me. I said, okay. So anyway, I went in the house, I spoke to my grandmother, and then I went upstairs in my room. My grandmother, who's affectionately known as Big Rose, which is all of maybe 5'6", 5'5", 300 pounds at that time. Right. I heard her shuffling up the steps. I said, oh shit, here we go. She didn't knock, she just pushed the door open. What's wrong with you? I told her what was wrong. And she said, oh, really? I said, yeah. And she said, I can tell something was wrong with you because you left here with your light bright, going to church. But when you came home, it was dim and we not having it. I'm like, oh shit, Grandma, okay. That Sunday, went to church. She went to church. I wasn't going to go because I was still a little bothered. And she had already left and was at church. So I said, you know what? Nope. I'm going to get up, I'm going to get dressed, and I'm going to go anyway. I'm going to see God. I don't give a damn about the people in the church. I'm going to see God. And that's what I did. However, I just sat downstairs. After service, I was going to surprise Grandma and run upstairs or whatever. And I seen her going to the pastor's office. I said, ooh. Because she don't really go into the pastor's office like that unless it's something important. And she closed the door. And she got the pastor together and she told the pastor what happened. One of your church folks with my grandbaby and I don't like it. I'm outside like, oh shit. Forgive me, Lord. So he called the church member in the office, closed the door. I'm like, oh shit, here we go. And I heard my grandmother say these words. Who are you to speak anything over my grandbaby? I raised him. I know him. I know him inside and out. You don't ever speak anything over my grandbaby, especially when you're taking life from him. Again, I'm outside like, oh shit. Because I didn't even think about that. Because y'all know me, I mean, I was ready to cuss the heifer out and go in, but God wouldn't let me, so I said, okay, fine. Big Rose did it for me. Came out the office, I was smiling, we went home. Got home, and she said, let me tell you something. God knows who you are. He knew who you was in the womb and before you slid out your mother. And I'm like, ill grandma, that was a little graphic, but okay. And I said, you're right. And she said, you don't ever, ever let anybody take life from you or speak anything negative over you. She said, because if that was the case, you wouldn't be where you are right now. And you are where you are because you, not nobody else. And you keep going. So I'm like, oh, okay, grandma, like, she all deep, like, oh, okay, all right. But I got it. Full circle. The church member sent me a DM on Facebook years later, and she apologized. And she said, please don't hate me for what happened. I don't carry hate in my heart for anybody. I did say, however, y'all catching that, right? You catching it? I did say, what you did to me gave me a story to help somebody else. That's it. I don't hate you. There's no animosity. However, people will never forget how you make them feel, so be careful what you say. Be it good or bad, especially if it's bad. They are not going to forget how you made them feel, honey. I accept your apology. No beef. We good. My grandmother, she said, and she called me by my nickname, Lil Willie, which only she can call me that. Okay, fine. She said, repeat what I always say to you. Grandma, no. Repeat it. So I said, okay. If God be for you, who can be against you?
Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Ooh, baby. Such magnificent performances from our 5 storytellers this evening. Of course, we have come to the end of our show. We're at the twilight of the show. But of course, you can't leave yet because we have to bring our storytellers back to the stage. But before we do that, be sure to follow Story District at Story District on all forms of social media, as well as Team Rayceen Productions. I'll spell that for you. R-A-Y-C-E-E-N. That's Team Rayceen Productions at Team Rayceen. Make sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to our podcast, YouTube channel, pitch a story, and join our mailing list. Now, Story District, if you go to storydistrict.org, you can find some amazing things that you can do. If you go to storydistrict.org/classes, you can take some storytelling classes, and we offer storytelling bootcamp, storytelling 101, and storytelling 201. And if you go to storydistrict.org/consulting, you can get trainings, custom performances, and one-on-one coaching. So make sure that you follow both of our organizations because we have a lot going on. And of course, make sure you check out the merch table in the back, get some Story District things, and support our storytellers any way you can. One of our storytellers, of course, Richardson, has his book out. That is Tales of a Black Geisha. So make sure you check that out, see what he's doing. And it's really cool that we're here as storytellers because I'm also a playwright and I have a book coming out. And would anyone like to get a peek at the cover before it's out? Nikki, could you do the honors? Come on. My first anthology will be coming out later this month, and you can get a sneak peek at the cover. It is Fears, Fantasies, and Freedom by Krillias. Check it out. It's a 10-story anthology, and you know, we're giving you everything that you need: power, passion, growth, love, loss, magic, mayhem, and madness. So make sure you check that out. And we want to say thanks to the Kennedy Center for having us here. What an honor to be here in the Kennedy Center. Thank you to the Kennedy Center staff, DJ Sugar Pants, and everyone who helped make this amazing evening happen.
Now let's bring our storytellers back to the stage. Maestro, if you please. Put your hands together for Anthony. Stand up and put your hands together. Stand up, everyone. Stand up and honor our storytellers. Anthony Oakes. Hannah Mann. Ty Malik. Sienna Joslin. And Richardson. Our show director, Story District's Artistic Executive Director, Amy Sedman. Amy Sedman.
Amy's at the back.
Amy's at the back, so you can visit her after this is over. Take your seats. Don't leave. Maestro, bring this down. I know I have about 2 minutes. 1 minute. Let me leave you with a message. It's important that we love each other. Treat each other better. Be kind to one another. The world we live in right now is going through many changes. And we know that changes sometimes affect us emotionally, spiritually, financially. But remember, you are that light. And in that light that lives in you, you shine brighter than anyone else. Remember these words and always look at yourself and be kind to someone along the way. Remember, every morning, get up and say this to yourself. You is kind, you is smart, and you is important. Thank you all, and have a good night.
Thank you for joining us at Millennium Stage as we prepare